Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the privilege of learning. Inspires us to be receptive to new knowledge and help us to apply it wisely. We ask for your peace and guidance as we focus on our studies. Amen.
Good day everyone. Our icebreaker is Q&A portion. So if you answer correctly 5 questions, please indicate your name so that Ma'am Karen will give you a corresponding points. These questions is about the topic from the last reporter. So you have 5 seconds to answer and I will repeat the question twice. Number 1. Which phase of emergency response involves developing and practicing emergency plans, training personnel, and educating the public? Again, which phase of emergency response involves developing and practicing emergency plans, training personnel, and educating the public? A. Response, B. Recovery, C. Mitigation, or D. Preparedness? A. Response, B. Recovery, C. Mitigation, or D. Preparedness? So the correct answer is D. Preparedness. Number 2. What is the primary goal of the response phase of emergency management? A. Long-term rebuilding of infrastructure, B. Reducing the likelihood of future disasters, C. Immediate life-saving and damage control, D. Providing psychological support to victims. Again, what is the primary goal of response phase of emergency management? A. Long-term building of infrastructure, B. Reducing the likelihood of future disasters, C. Immediate life-saving and damage control, D. Providing psychological support to victims. The correct answer is letter C. Immediate life-saving and damage control. Number 3. Which of the following is not a typical activity during recovery phase? Letter A. Debris removal, C. Conducting risk assessments, B. Conducting risk assessments, C. Repairing damaged infrastructure, D. Providing financial assistance. Again, which of the following is not a typical activity during a recovery phase? A. Debris removal, B. Conducting risk assessments, C. Repairing damaged infrastructure, or D. Providing financial assistance. The answer is letter B. Conducting risk assessments. Number 4. Implementing stricter building codes and developing early warning system are examples of activities primarily associated with which phase? A. Response, B. Recovery, C. Mitigation, or D. Preparedness? Again, implementing stricter building codes and developing early warning systems are examples of activities primarily associated with which phase? A. Response, B. Recovery, C. Mitigation, or D. Preparedness? The answer is letter C. Mitigation. Last question. Demonstrating competency in emergency response typically involves A. Having a detailed personal emergency plan, B. Successfully completing relevant training and certification, C. Reading extensively about emergency management, or D. Watching disaster relief documentaries. Again, demonstrating competency in emergency response typically involves A. Having a detailed personal emergency plan, B. Successfully completing relevant training. C. Reading extensively about emergency management. Or D. Watching disaster relief documentaries. The answer is letter B. Successfully completing relevant trainings and certifications. But before we proceed on our topic, let me have a recap on the last reporter, understanding the different aspects of emergency response and demonstrating competency in emergency techniques. Effective emergency response requires preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation. Preparedness involves proactive risk assessment, planning, resource management, training, and public awareness. Response focuses on immediate actions during an emergency, including plan activation, search and rescue, first aid, damage assessment, evacuation, and communication. Recovery is a long-term process of restoring normalcy, including debris removal, reconstruction, psychological support, and economic recovery. Mitigation aims to reduce future risk through hazard mitigation, infrastructure improvements, land use planning, building codes, and early warning systems. Competency is shown through certification, experience, successful plan implementation, teamwork, and continuous learning.
So good day everyone, I am Gwen Layao and I will be the one to introduce to you our topic, which is the theories and practices of LGUs in the RRM. So the LGUs are responsible for disaster risk reduction management and ensuring community resilience. So the LGUs in the Philippines is essential in disaster risk reduction and management, focusing on building community resilience. So the LGUs appropriate through Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or the LDRRMCs, and collaborate with national agencies. They emphasize community involvement and integrate disaster management into local development planning to enhance resilience. So they work at the local level to prevent, mitigate, prepare for, response to, and recover from disaster. So the first one is the prevention and mitigation. So reducing the likelihood and impact of disasters through regulations, education, and infrastructure improvement. And then the second one is preparation. Planning and preparing for potential disasters by developing evacuation plans, training responders, and stockpiling supplies. And then the third one is response. Taking immediate actions during a disaster, such as conducting search and rescue operations, providing medical aid, and distributing essential supplies. And the last one is recovery. Rebuilding and restoring communities after a disaster by repairing infrastructure, offering financial assistance, and providing mental health supports. So this approach allows local organizations to address the specific needs and vulnerabilities of their communities effectively. So the role of the LGUs is critical in implementing national policies in a localized and community-specific context. So the LGUs are critical for implementing national policies effectively because they adapt policies to local contexts, engage communities directly, allocate resources effectively, efficiency, and monitor policy impact. Their local knowledge and understanding are essential for successful policy implementation, all through challenges like resource constraints and capacity limitations needs to be addressed.
I am Kyla May D. Tundaan, and my report is the first theory of the theories of the DRRM. But before we proceed to my report, let me enumerate the 4 types or theories of the DRM. The first theory is risk reduction theory. Second, resilience theory. Third, integrated risk management theory. And fourth, community-based disaster risk management, or the CBDRM. So, risk reduction theory, it focuses or centers around preventing and lessening the impact of risks. Local government units, or the LGUs, play a crucial role in performing risk assessments, developing plans, and implementing measures to reduce risk. There are 3 key practices of risk reduction theory. First, hazard mapping. Second, implementing mitigation strategies, for example, flood control or seismic retrofitting. And third, strengthening building codes and land use regulation to prevent disasters. So, hazard mapping. It creates a map that identifies the areas prone to various hazards, for example, in the flood and earthquakes. So, this allows for targeted risk reduction efforts. So, implementing mitigation strategies, it is taking steps to reduce the impacts of hazard. For example, in flood control, building dams or improving drainage system to manage flood waters. In earthquake, the seismic retrofitting, strengthening the existing buildings to withstand earthquakes. This might involve reinforcing foundation or adding bracing. In strengthening building codes and land use regulations, it established and reinforced regulation to ensure new constructions are built to withstand hazard and that land is used responsibly to minimize risk. This could include restriction on building in high-risk zones or mandates for a specific building materials and designs. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, ma'am. I am Yunjin Tamaya from BPA 1B. Today, I will be discussing about resilience theory and its key practices. First, emphasize a community ability to bounce back after disaster. So, it means a community's trying to recover quickly and work together after a disaster. Second, LGU focus on building both physical and social resilience through preparedness and recovery strategies. So LGUs strengthen buildings and communities to prepare and recover from disaster. Example, LGU builds barriers and trains residents on emergency evacuation to protect the community during typhoons. Third, strengthening infrastructure to withstand disasters. Example, the LGU builds stronger drainage systems to prevent flooding and forms local volunteer groups to assist during emergencies. Fourth, enhancing social capital through education and training. Example, the LG organizes regular community seminars on disaster response and provides training on emergency rescue techniques, strengthening the community's ability to help one another. Last, providing psychological support on post-disaster. Example, after a flood, the LGU set a counseling centers to support groups to help survivors cope with the trauma and emotional stress. That's all, ma'am. Thank you.
Good day, I am Rachel Pontas and I'm gonna tackle about integrated risk management theory and community-based disaster risk management, or CBDRM. First is integrated risk management theory. Integrated management theory promotes a multidimensional and proactive approach to managing risk, particularly in the context of disaster risk reduction and management, or DRRM. It emphasizes that local government units, or LGUs, must not treat disaster management as a standalone, concern, but rather as a cross-cutting issue that must be embedded into all sectors, governance such as health, environment, and education. Example is health sector integration. During Typhoon session, an LGU partners with the local health office to pre-position medical suppliers and train in barangay health workers in emergency response. Hospitals are included in evacuation and contingency planning. Second is education sector preparedness. Example is school incorporate disaster risk reduction in the curriculum and are designated as evacuation centers. DRRM drills are conducted regularly with students and staff in coordination with the local DRRM office. Next is community-based disaster risk management or CBDRM. CBDRM emphasizes the active participation of communities in disaster preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. It recognizes that local residents are often the first responders during disaster and have valuable knowledge about local risk and resources. By involving communities in disaster risk management, local government units or LGUs can create more effective, sustainable, inclusive strategies. Example is LGUs conduct disaster preparedness seminars, first aid training, and earthquake fire drills in barangays to ensure the residents know how to respond during emergencies. Second example is communities are invited to participate in hazard mapping, risk assessment, and the develop of local contingency plans. This gives them a sense of ownership and accountability in disaster. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. I am Romaline Mausay. I am a reporter of practices of LGUs in DRRM. We have the 5 key practices. The first one is disaster risk assessment and planning. This involves identifying potential hazards, assessing vulnerabilities, and developing plans to reduce risk. It's a proactive approach to disaster management. Example, a municipality in a coastal area might conduct a hazard mapping exercise to identify areas prone to storm surge and flooding. This mapping would then be used to create an evacuation plan for residents in those areas. The second, early warning. Early warning systems. This system provides timely alerts to communities about impending disasters, allowing for early action and reducing potential damage. Example, a local government set up a weather monitoring system that sends text alerts to residents about incoming storms or typhoons, giving them time to evacuate or take necessary precautions. Number 3, resource mobilization. This involves the proactive gathering of resources, financial, human, and material to be used during and after a disaster, ensuring an efficient response. Example, an LGU sets an emergency fund and stockpile essential supplies such as food, medicine, and clothing that can be quickly distributed during a disaster. Additionally, they establish partnership with NGOs for additional support. Number 4, training and capacity building. Training local government personnel and the community to respond effectively to disasters. Capacity building ensures that everyone has the necessary skills and knowledge to handle emergency. Example, an LGU might organize disaster preparedness training workshop for community members. teaching them about first aid, fire safety, and evacuation procedures. They might also train local leaders on disaster management principles and strategies. The last one is public awareness campaigns. These campaigns aim to educate the public about disaster risk, preparedness measures, and emergency response procedure. Example, an LGU might organize community meetings to inform residents about the risk of typhoons and how to prepare for them. They might also use public service announcement on radio and television to promote disaster preparedness. And that's all. Thank you.
Before I proceed to my topic, let me introduce myself first. By the way, I am JP Sipota, BP1B. So my topic for this group reporting is all about disaster risk assessment and planning. LGUs conduct risk assessment to identify potential hazard and vulnerabilities. Based on the assessment, LGU will develop the local disaster management plans or LDRR MP to address the specific object. So ang local government unit is responsible sila sa pag-conducting throughout risk assessment to identify the potential hazard and vulnerabilities in their community or areas. Kaning assessment makatabang to understand sa mga posibleng mahitabo nga delikado sa community, whether from natural disaster like floods, earthquake, or typhoon, ug uban pang mga disaster. And then ang LDRRP or Local Disaster Risk Reduction Management, human nila masabtan ang usa ka risk sa usa ka lugar, gabuhat dayon sila og mga plano kung unsaon nila pag-manage katong risk nga para ma-reduce or ma-prevent ang disaster damage to protect the people, property, and environment, as well as the how to respond during and after the disaster. And this is their key practices. The first one is mapping hazard. Ang LGU gabuhat sila og detailed hazard map that illustrate the potential risk, like flood zone, earthquake-prone areas, and typhoon paths. This helps to understand where the risks are most prevalent. And the second one is developing contingency plan. Ang local disaster risk reduction management plans are tailored to address specific local risks nga masiguro ang mga community has a response strategy suited to its unique challenges. And then the third one, identifying the critical infrastructure and vulnerable population. Ang LGU nag-ila sa mga importanteng infrastruktura like hospital, eskwelahan o planta sa kuryente. Ug tapos gila po nila ang mga vulnerable nga populasyon like sama sa mga tigulang o mga naay kapansanan. O sa ato sa ato nga mga pobre. And then nga mahimong manginahanglan og special nga tabang o intention og protekta during a disaster. So let's proceed to my second topic. My second topic is all about early warning system or EWEs. So ang early warning system help LGU communicate timely warning to the public, and then LGU collaborate with national agency like Pag-asa and PBOX to disseminate accurate forecast and warnings. So ang early warning system are essential tools that enable local government units, LGUs, to provide timely and effective warning to the public about impending disaster. This system helps ensure that communities are alerted in advance, allowing individuals to take the necessary action to protect themselves and reduce risk. LGUs work closely with national agencies such as Pag-asa, Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Service Administration, and PBOX, Philippines Institute and Volcanology and Seismology, to share accurate up-to-date forecast and warning with the public. This collaboration ensures that the information being communicated is reliable and relevant to the local context. So let's proceed to their key practices. The first one, establishment of early warning communication system. LGU set up various communication channels to ensure warning reaches to the public. Sama sa mga sharing, text messages, alerts, and radio broadcasts, which allow to rapid dissemination sa mga importanteng impormasyon. So the second one is community education. It is a crucial communities to understand how to respond to the warning. LGU prioritizes the educating resident about evacuation routes, safety measures, and appropriate responses during emergency. This education helps ensure the coordinated and efficient response when a disaster occurs. So the last one is regular testing and system upgrade. To ensure that the early warning system remains effective, LGU regularly tests update the system, continue testing and upgrade, ensure that they work properly during the emergencies, improving their reliability and efficiency in safeguarding the community, safeguarding the public.
I am Sharon Mahaya, and this is my topic, resource mobilization. The Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund, or DRRMF, is a key resource of resources for LGUs. The Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund, or DRRMF, serves as crucial funding resource for local government units or LGUs in disaster preparedness, response, and recovery. Allocate funds for disaster preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. Disaster preparedness. LGU should allocate funds for training, program, drills, and communication systems to enhance community preparedness. Mitigation. Investing in projects that reduce disaster risks, such as infrastructure improvements, hazard mapping, and early warning system. Response. Ensuring adequate resource for emergency response team, rescue equipment, and immediate relief supplies. Recovery. Supporting post-disaster rehabilitation and reconstruction efforts, including infrastructure repair, economic recovery, and social services. Set up partnership with private sectors and NGOs for financial and technical support. Private sector engagement. LGUs should establish partnerships with business for financial contributions, technical expertise, and resource mobilization. NGO collaboration. Partnering with non-governmental organizations or NGOs for community outreach, capacity building, and specialized support in areas like health, education, and shelter. Develop local emergency response teams with necessary equipment. Training and equipment. Investing in training for local emergency response teams, equipping them with necessary tools, vehicles, and communication devices. Community involvement. Encouraging community participation in emergency response, fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility. By implementing these practices, LGUs can ensure that DRRMF is utilized effectively, contributing to a more resilient and disaster-prepared Philippines. Capacity building and training. LGUs invest in building the capacity of local responders and communities. Local government units or LGUs in the Philippines recognize the importance of capacity building and training as a cornerstone of effective disaster risk reduction and management, or DRRM, By investing in the skills and knowledge of local responders and communities, LGUs can significantly enhance their preparedness and resilience to disaster. Practices. First one, disaster preparedness training for local responders. LGUs organize training programs specifically tailored for local responders, such as police, firefighters, and medical personnel. This program focuses on skills like search and rescue, techniques for locating and rescuing individuals trapped in collapsed structures or disaster zones, emergency medical response, providing first aid and basic medical care in disaster situation. Incident Command System or ICS, a standardized system of managing emergency operation, ensuring effective communication and coordination among responders. Second one, conduct simulation exercises and drill with community. LGUs conduct regular simulation exercises and drill involving entire communities. These events stimulate various disaster scenarios such as earthquake, typhoons, and flood to test emergency plans, evaluate the effectiveness of existing evacuation plans, communication system, and response protocols. Familiarize communities. Help residents understand their rules and responsibilities during a disaster, fostering sense of preparedness and community coherence. Identify gaps. Reveal areas where improvements are needed and preparedness plans and response capabilities. Last one. Train local authorities and volunteers in first aid, search and rescue, and emergency response. First aid. LGU training local authorities and volunteers in basic first aid techniques, enabling them to provide immediate medical assistance to injuries during disaster. Search and rescue. Training in search and rescue techniques equip volunteers to assist in locating missing individuals during a disaster. Emergency response. LGUs provide training on general emergency response procedures covering topics like communication, using radios, sirens, and other communication tools effectively during emergency. Second, evacuation. Safely evacuating individuals from hazard areas. Third, shelter management. Setting up the managing temporary shelter for displaced individuals. By implementing these practices, LGUs can ensure that their communities are well prepared to face disaster, minimizing the impact on living and poverty.
Good morning, Ma'am Garden. So this time, this reporting is my role is to discuss about public awareness and community engagement in the RRM. Public education is crucial for the success of disaster risk reduction and management. It involves raising awareness about disaster risk through regular campaign, teaching communities essential skills like preparedness, evacuation and first aid, and encouraging active community participation in local DRRM planning and decision making. This effort helped build resilient and informed community. And here are some examples of public awareness and community engagement in DRRM. First one is public awareness campaign, poster, radio announcement, and social media updates. Inform resident about typhoon risk and safety tips. And that is example of public awareness campaign. And the next one is community training. Community training, residents attended workshop on how to pack emergency kits, perform basic first aid, and understand evacuation routes. And the third one is participatory planning. Barangay assembly were held where community members help identify evacuation site and suggest improvement to the local disaster response plan. And that is the 3 example of public awareness and community engagement. And that's all for me. Thank you.
The roles and functions of different actors in DRRM for public safety reforms. Disaster Risk Reduction Management, or DRRM, is a system that helps communities prepare for respond to and recover from disaster like typhoons, earthquake, floods, and more. To make it work effectively, many different people and organizations need to work together. These actors all have specific roles and functions to make sure the public safety and the communities can recover after disaster. Number 1, national government agencies. These are the main government offices in charge of creating laws, policies, and plans for disaster management. The function of national government agencies is they create national DRRM plans, give funding, provide equipment, and lead big operations during national emergencies. Example, NDRRMC, or National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council in the Philippines. Local government. Number 2 is local government units, or LGUs. This includes city, municipal, and barangay officials. The function of LGU is they are the frontliners during disasters. They know when the area best, so they manage evacuation plans, early warnings, and local relief efforts. Example, a barangay captain organizing evacuation during a flood. And number 3 is non-governmental organization, or NGOs. These are private organizations that help communities, especially those who are most vulnerable. The function of NGOs is they give support through relief goods, training, and education. They also help advocate for better disaster policies. Example, the Philippine Red Cross or other charity groups. And for the fourth is community members. These are the regular citizens like us. The functions of community members is we have responsibility to stay informed, follow safety protocols, join disaster drills, and help others in our neighborhood. Example, families preparing emergency kits or joining a clean-up drive after a typhoon. Fifth is private sector. These are companies and businesses. The function of private sector is they can donate money or supply, share technology, or provide safe shelters. They also help in rebuilding efforts after disasters. Example, a company giving free bottled water during a calamity. Number 6 is academic and research institutions. Schools, colleges, and research centers also play an important role. The function of academic and research institutions is they provide information, studies, and technologies that help improve disaster planning and response. Example, a university creating flood maps or hazard assessments. In conclusion, disaster preparedness and public safety are everyone's responsibility. By understanding the roles of different actors in DRRM, we can work together better and create a safer, more resilient community.
Good day, ma'am. I am Sheila James Pabilinia Pepito, and this is my topic this day. My topic this day is about key actors in DRRM. Number 1 is local government units or LGUs. Number 2, barangay disaster risk reduction management councils or BDRMCs. Number 3, national government agencies. Number 4, emergency responders such as police, firefighters, medical teams. Then number 5 is non-government unit organizations. Number 6 is private sector. Number 7 is community members. Number 8 is academic and research institutions. And the last is media and communication channels. Number 1, local government units or LGU leads to disaster risk reduction management or DRM efforts at local level, ensuring preparedness, response, and recovery. And number 2, barangay disaster risk reduction management councils or BDRMCs handle DRM at barangay level, conducting risk assessments, preparedness activities, and immediate response during disaster. And number 3, national government agencies provide policies, resources, and technical support for DRM, including agencies like NDRMC, PAG-ASA, and the SWD. Number 4, emergency responders such as police, firefighters, medical teams deliver immediate assistance, rescue, and medical aid during emergencies and disaster. Number 5 is non-governmental organization or NGOs. Offer humanitarian aid, disaster relief, capacity building, and advocating for disaster resilience. And number 6 is private sector. Supports DRM through funding, logistics, infrastructure, and innovative solutions for disaster preparedness and response. And number 7, community members play a key role in preparedness, response, and recovery through active participation and cooperation. And number 8 is academic and research institutions conduct studies, provide scientific data, and develop innovations for disaster risk reduction. And the last is media and communication channels. Disseminate critical information, early warnings, and updates before, during, and after the disaster. Second one is role of local government units or LGUs leads disaster management at the local level functions. Develop local disaster risk reduction and management plans or LDRMP. Mobilize resources and allocate funds or DRMF. Enforce disaster-related laws and policies. Coordinate disaster response and recovery operation. Number 1 is develop local disaster risk reduction and management plan or LDRMP. LGUs create detailed plans to prevent, prepare for, and respond to disasters. These plans outline strategies to reduce risk, ensure community safety, and establish emergency procedures. Number 2, mobilize resources and allocate funds or DRMF. LGUs secure necessary resources such as personnel, equipment, and relief supplies. They also set aside funds from the Disaster Risk Reduction Management Fund or DRMF to support disaster preparedness, response, and recovery efforts. And number 3 is enforce disaster-related laws and policies. LGUs implement laws and regulations that promote disaster resilience as building codes, land use policies, and environmental protection laws. These ensure compliance to minimize risk and protect communities. And the last one is coordinate disaster response and recovery operations. LGUs leads efforts to assist affected populations by organizing evacuations, providing emergency aid, and restoring basic services after disasters. They work with national agencies, NGOs, and local communities to ensure an effective response. And that's all my report, ma'am, and thank you.
Good day everyone. I am Edzelmi Simpoy from BP1B and now I am presenting you the role of Barangay Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council or the BDRRMC. First, what is BDRRMC? BDRRMC are the first responders in their local communities, playing a crucial role in the disaster preparedness response and mitigations. Second is conducting risk assessments and implement mitigation strategies. BDRRMC identify potential hazard and vulnerability within their barangay and develop plans to reduce the impact of disasters. This might involve strengthening infrastructure, improving early warning system, or promoting community-based disaster preparedness. Third is provide emergency relief and resources. During and after a disaster, BDRMC are responsible for providing immediate assistance to affected residents. This may include distributing food, water, shelter, and medical supplies. The last one is educate the raise awareness in the community. BDRMC play a vital role in educating the community about disaster risk, preparedness measure, and response protocols. This ongoing education helps building community and resilience. In essence, BDRMC are vital for ensuring community safety and resilience in the face of natural disasters and other emergencies. They are frontline defense working to minimize the impact of disasters and support recovery efforts.
Good day, ma'am. I am Jana Misawan Lutak, and my part is the role of emergency responders, the police, fire, and medical teams. So, immediate action to save lives and reduce disaster impacts. Functions. First, conduct search and rescue operations. Provide first aid and medical care. Third, manage evacuations and maintain order during disasters. And the last is respond to fire incidents and prevent further damage. So, police, firefighters, and medical teams are the first line of defense during a disaster. They take immediate action to rescue people, provide critical care, and control the situation. So there are key actions. First is search and rescue. They actively search for and rescue people trapped or injured. Second is first aid and medical care. So they provide immediate medical attention to the injured. Third one is the evacuation and order. So they manage evacuations or affected areas and maintain order to prevent further harm. Last is firefighting. Firefighters respond to fires and prevent their spread, limiting further damage. In short, emergency responders are vital for saving lives and reducing the impact of disasters. Their quick thinking and actions in the immediate aftermath are essential. Next is the role of national government agencies. So, provide technical support, guidance, and resources. So, functions. Establish disaster management frameworks, example, the NDRRMC. Next is provide early warnings and hazard forecasting. For example, is the PAG-ASA and the PhilVox. Third is to coordinate large-scale disaster response and recovery. Last is conduct capacity building programs for local responders. National government agencies play a crucial role in preparing for responding to and recovery from disasters. They provide essential support at all stages. So, key functions. First, setting the framework. They create plans and rules for how the country handles disasters, like the NDRRMC in the Philippines. Second, early warnings. They issue warnings and forecasts about potential disaster using agencies such as PAG-ASA and PhilVox. Next is disaster response. They coordinate large-scale responders and recovery efforts when disasters strike. Last is training local responders. So they train and equip local emergency workers to be better prepared. In short, national government agencies are the backbone of a country's ability to deal with disasters. They ensure a coordinated and effective response to protect people and communities.
Non-governmental organizations or NGOs provide humanitarian and support for community resilience. NGOs or non-governmental organizations are independent, typically non-profit organizations that operate outside government control. They are often formed by private citizens or groups to address social, humanitarian, or environmental issues, focusing on public good rather than profit. While they may receive funding from governments or corporations, they are not part of the government structures. The public sector encompasses government entities and organizations that provide services and infrastructures funded by taxes. Examples include government agencies, departments and agencies that oversee various aspects of government, public school, educational institutions funded by tax dollars, public libraries that provide free access to books and resources, public transportation system like buses, trains, and subways. Of the private sector support disaster management through resources and business continuity. The private sector encompasses all business and activities not controlled by the government. It's characterized by private ownership, profit-seeking, and market-driven operations, contrasting with the public sector, which is government-led and often funded by taxes. Here's our more detailed breakdown. Key characteristics of the private sector: private ownership, profit-seeking, market-driven, diverse business types, funding. Examples of private sectors as retail, stores, supermarkets, and online retailers. Manufacturing, companies that produce goods. Finance, banks, insurance companies, and investment firms. Technology, software companies, tech startups, and digital platforms. Healthcare, hospitals, clinics, and pharmaceutical companies.
I am Jessel Joy O. Okinlay. My topic is role of community members and role of academic and research institution in DRRM. Role of community members: participate in disaster drills and preparedness activities. Engage in community-led disaster simulation and training. Help test emergency plans and improve community readiness. Second is implement personal and household risk reduction measures. Prepare emergency kits and create family emergency plans. Secure homes against potential hazard, flood, fire, earthquake. Third is volunteer during disaster. Assist in evacuations, distribute relief goods, and support rescue efforts. Office skills, time, and resources to aid in community recovery. Fourth is raise awareness and advocate for disaster safety. Educate others about disaster risk and preparedness. Promote community programs and advocate for local safety measures. Roles of academic and research institutions. Academic and research institutions play a vital role in enhancing disaster risk and management by providing data, research, and technical support. First is conducting hazard and risk assessment. These institutions analyze vulnerabilities, hazard, and potential impacts to inform planning and preparedness strategies. Second is offering training and capacity building. They provide education, training, and technical support communities, local governments, and responders to strengthen disaster preparedness and response. Third is developing innovative solutions. Through research and development, they create new technologies, methods, and strategies to improve disaster mitigation, resilience, and early warning system. That's all. Thank you.
I'm Gia Lumero and my topic is Role of Media and Communication Channels. Disseminate important information to the public. Media plays a crucial role in providing timely and accurate information to the public during emergencies. Different communication channels such as television, radio, social media, and news websites help reach a large audience. Functions. First is disseminate early warning alerts in real time. Media and communication networks ensures that warnings about disasters such as typhoons, earthquakes, or floods reach the public as soon as possible. These early warning systems allows people to take necessary precautions and evacuate if needed. For example, the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAG-ASA, issues typhoon warnings via television, radio, and social media, allowing communities to prepare before the storm arrives. Next is run public awareness campaigns about disaster preparedness. Media organizations, government agencies, and NGOs collaborate to educate people about disaster preparedness. Campaigns include safety tips, emergency kits, and evacuation plans. For example, the Department of Health or DOH may run a campaign on TV and social media teaching people how to prevent diseases during floods such as leptospirosis. Last is provide transparent and accurate reporting during and after disasters. After a disaster, media serves as a watchdog, ensuring that the public receives truthful reports about the situation, relief efforts, and government responses. This helps prevent misinformation and ensures accountability. For example, after an earthquake, news agencies report on the number of casualties, relief operations, and the response of the government and NGOs to help affected communities. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Krisnilove Ada Apong from BPA 1B. So today, let me discuss the collaboration for effective DRRM. Effective DRRM requires its collaboration of these actors. Multi-stakeholder approach ensures the comprehensive disaster preparedness, response, and recovery. Coordination, communication, and resource sharing are key to public safety reforms. At this moment, let me discuss how teamwork or collaboration is essential for effective DRRM. Teamwork is the key. Success DRRM needs everyone to work together. Think of it like a sports team. Each player has a role and they all need to cooperate to win. That's what effective DRRM would like. The second, many people are involved. Many groups are need to participate, like government agencies, community leaders, and ordinary citizens. This will be called as a multi-stakeholder approach. One is complete disaster planning. Working together ensure thorough planning for all stages of a disaster, preparing for it, responding during it, and recovering afterward. At the least, is communication is crucial. Good communication and sharing resources are extremely important for keeping everyone safe. So let me use the examples of preparing, responding, and recovering. So first is preparing. Preparing is the one of a crucial thing to have an effective DRRM, as the town council, local businesses, and residents all work together to create an evacuation plan and stock emergency supply. The second is responding. So let me use the situation of flooding. So during flooding, the firefighters, police, and volunteers, community rescue efforts, and DRRM responders will respond, while the disseminator channels will make us people informed. The next one is recovering. So after a flooding, a government, charities, and community members will collaborate to rebuild homes and restore essential services, which will showcase the effective of DRRM. So, lastly, we should always know how to be prepared and recovered from disasters. Everyone, government, community, and individuals must work together. And we also remember that good communication and sharing of resources or informations are the key. Altogether, we should collaborate and participate so that we will achieve the effective DRRM in which all of us can benefit. That's all. Thank you, and once again, good day.